Hi, everybody. Let's go over a little bit of homework. So you have your test coming up here on Friday on the circulatory and respiratory system. And you have this review sheet. You also have the worksheet on the respiratory system, labeling it, at least my class does. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's just go through it. I have the answers on here. I'll talk through them when I think it's appropriate. Sometimes the answers are pretty obvious, so we'll look at it that way. So the first one asks about a malfunction of the body characterized by enlargement and degeneration, so breakdown of the alveoli, resulting in decreased lung capacity. Cerebral, that's the brain. Coronary, that's the heart. Leukemia, that's cancer. Emphysema is when the lungs can't expand and contract, usually due to smoking over a long period of time or exposure to environmental things. All right, the next one for number 2, which number represents a capillary bed, a group of capillaries, which allows for the diffusion of nutrients from the blood? That would be 6. Capillaries are where we go from the heart, we exchange gases, we come back to the heart, and you have to have the capillaries in between to get to every single cell in your body, which all need oxygen to carry out respiration. All right. Number 3, which chamber of the heart pumps deoxygenated, oxygenless, or lower oxygen level blood? The right side, which in the diagram is the left, remember the sides are switched, the right side pumps deoxygenated heart. It comes back through the vena cavas into the right atrium, and it gets pumped out of the right ventricle to the lungs where you have gas exchange, and then it comes back into the left-hand side of the heart. So 2. Number 4, which sequence correctly indicates the branching pattern of the human respiratory system? So you're starting big and branching out from there. So the trachea, your main windpipe, the cartilaginous tube, you can feel the bumpiness in your throat. Then to the bronchi and bronchioles. It's kind of weird in the respiratory system. The bigger the name, the smaller the thing when it comes to bronchi and bronchioles. And then it goes to the alveoli, those little bitty sacs where there's millions of them in your lungs, where the capillaries are right next to the surface and can exchange with the outside air. Number 5, which human organ is correctly paired with its functional subunits? Brain does neurons, kidney does nephrons. We haven't talked about kidney yet. Liver, not even. So lung has alveoli. It's the only one that looks familiar for what we're doing in this topic. Number 6, oops, I skipped it. Probably shouldn't do that. Which structure shown in the diagram below contracts, causing a pressure change in the chest cavity during breathing? Well, that would be your diaphragm here. So that's the letter D. All right. Number 7, which chamber pumps blood toward the alveoli by way of the pulmonary arteries? Again, from the body is coming to the heart, from the body is 1. The right atrium. Going out to your lungs is 2, the right ventricle. Goes through the pulmonary artery to your lungs where it can exchange gases, pick up some oxygen, get rid of some carbon dioxide. So 2. Number 8, which type of vessel normally contains valves? V and V. Veins contain valves. There's not a lot of pressure in veins, so in order to get back to your heart, every time the heart beats, the blood moves forward. A vein has to have a valve in it to stop it from falling back to your toes. So it works its way forward a little at a time. 9 is 1. Arteries have thick walls. They're lined with epithelial tissue. They have thick walls to support the pressure from your heartbeats. Transport blood away from the heart. A is away. And number 10 is a picture, a diagram of an artery where you have the epithelium, smooth muscle, and connective tissue on the outside holding it all together. Number 11, cigarette smoke and other atmospheric pollutants can interfere with the cilia. Cilia are the little hair-like structures, and nicotine and some things in the environment can paralyze those, so you can't move things back out, move the mucus back out of your lungs in a normal way. So it paralyzes those. That was in the notes. Number 12, which transport vessel is paired with its usual function? So you read through there, and all the others are just blatantly wrong. The capillary is where it gets right to the cells, where you have the gas exchange. between the blood and the body tissues. So that's why 12 should be 2. Hopefully you had that. 13. The human trachea, your windpipe, is a passage that remains open due to the presence of these cartilaginous rings. Just like your nose has cartilage in it, it's kind of bendable and flexible and stuff. Your windpipe has these little donuts all stacked together that make up your windpipe, your trachea, and it keeps it open. It doesn't just flop open and closed when you breathe. That wouldn't be very efficient or good. So cartilaginous rings. That was 14. No, 13. 14. Which respiratory structure is supported by rings of cartilage? It seems to be a real big theme there. Know that the trachea has these cartilaginous rings. 15. Blood to the lungs. I already did this once, but again, we're just showing you Regents questions that have happened in the past, and so will probably happen this year as well. So, seems to be a popular one. Blood to the lungs is 3. Comes back from the body without oxygen or with less oxygen into 1, goes to 3, pumped out of 3 to the lungs to 7. So 3 wasn't an option, but 7 is because it's leaving the right ventricle. So your pulmonary artery number 7 there. 16. The blood entering vessel 5 would expect to have more. The blood entering vessel 5 would be expected to have more what? All right. So 5 is your inferior vena cava coming back from your legs, where those big old muscles use up a lot of oxygen oftentimes. And so it's going to be pretty oxygen poor, carbon dioxide rich. Comes into your heart, and it's going to get pumped back to your lungs and then back out to your body after it picks up oxygen. So in vessel 5, it's going to have more CO2 because it's all been used up. Then in vessel 6, your aorta going back out of your heart. This diagram's a little different than the ones that we had in the notes and in your note packet, but 6 is your aorta, your ascending aorta. Kind of a different drawing, but hopefully you got 7. Not 7. Hopefully you got 4. 17, in humans, hey, which one prevents food from entering the trachea? Why don't you end up with french fries and mashed potatoes in your lungs? Well, you got this little flap of tissue that closes when you swallow something, covers up your windpipe. That's your epiglottis. And number 18, the thick muscular vessels that transport blood away from the heart are arteries. A is away. Increase in heart rate. This is the dumb question. I mean, this is like epic question here. An increase in heart rate. Well, your heart rate is your pulse rate, so it's going to cause an increase in your pulse rate. The other one's not going to make your cells divide more. It's not going to slow down your metabolism. That makes no sense. Decrease in body temperature? I don't think so. So weird, like oddly simple question. Might trick you into something different because it's so simple, but it's not a trick. 20. Which statement best describes the function of the respiratory passages of a human? They permit exchange between the external atmosphere and the circulatory system. The respiratory system is that bridge, that pathway between the air on the outside and your blood on the inside. Some creatures, like frogs and different amphibians, they actually exchange gases through their skin. That's why they have to have a moist, slimy skin. We are not those things. We're dry on the outside. All of our exchange happens in the moist passageways of our lungs. So, 2, 1, same thing. 22, when we exhale air. So on the way out, exhaling, the air goes from your lungs, it's headed back out of your body. If you look at the diagrams and such from our slideshow, it's coming from the alveoli, working its way back through the trachea, the larynx, the pharynx, the nasal cavity on the way out. And so on the way out, I lost my... Okay, there we are. It's going to go by the pharynx after the trachea. Okay. 23, thin-walled vessels, circulatory system where most oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged. The thinnest of the thin walls, literally like a cell thick, alveoli. 24, dissolved nutrients, waste, and oxygen are exchanged between the blood and intercellular fluid by way of the capillaries. Again, they go to like every single cell in your body. There's a capillary next door to it. And so that's where the exchange is going to occur across those real thin barriers. Almost done. 25, the movement of blood from the legs toward the heart is hindered. It's held back. It's a problem because of gravity. And gravity is counteracted by the valves in your veins. The blood goes up on a heartbeat. When it tries to fall back down due to gravity, there's a valve that closes behind it, doesn't let it fall back to your toes. 26, in humans, most gas exchange happens in the alveoli, where there's capillaries wrapped around those little grape-like clusters, where there's literally hundreds of millions of them in your lungs. 27, a heart attack could happen from all of the following except. All right, so could happen because of a lack of blood pressure, maybe due to a blockage. Oxygen-deprived cardiac muscle dies, that's a heart attack. Narrowing of arteries transporting the blood, arteriosclerosis. Those are all reasons for a heart attack. But the last one, decreased consumption of complex carbohydrates. Sorry, eating fewer candy bars is not going to give you a heart attack. Quite the opposite, probably. And the last one on this page, oxygen transport in humans involves the bonding of oxygen with, well, red blood cells that contain hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is that iron-containing compound that likes to grab onto oxygen and carry it along. So without hemoglobin, you'd be in a world of hurt because you'd have less or no oxygen in your blood, which would be a problem for respiration. Speaking of respiration, you were supposed to label the respiratory system or put the letters next to the appropriate spot. And so it's kind of a blurry image. It's the best I could do. Sorry about that. But I chose to just label them next to them. That was about the easiest way I could go. So I wish they'd went like in some sort of order that was logical for air coming in or out, but they didn't. So going through bronchi, the I, pharynx, E after your sinuses before they get down into your trachea. Bronchiole, those are the little bitty ones right before the alveoli, so that was hiding down there at J. Sides are switched. Remember, left is right, right is left, just like the heart diagrams. So left lung is A, right lung is B. Diaphragm is C, the thin muscular layer between the upper part of your abdomen and the lower part of your abdomen. And it contracting or relaxing is what can create a difference in pressure, which allows you to breathe and have your lungs inflate or deflate. Nasal cavity D, way up by your schnoz. Alveoli, those little grapey looking clusters, where the gas exchange actually happens. The larynx is F, your voice box, another synonym for that. Right lung B, said that earlier. Trachea, the cartilaginous tube that branches off into the bronchi to go to your lungs. Lower respiratory tract is, I guess that's L, and upper respiratory tract is this chunk of G. So hopefully you got all those right. You know it all. You're ready for your test. And if not, well, at least you have the right answer you can study from now. So thanks for watching.